Hello everyone, my name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we're going to be reviewing one of my most anticipated films of 2017, Killing of a Scared Deer. This director also directed one of my favorite films from 2016, a movie called The Lobster, which is a weird love story. If you like weird love stories, I highly recommend The Lobster. It's a fantastic movie. And he also directed a strange and ambiguous film called Dogtooth, and that was my first exposure to this director. If you like weird, ambiguous movies, I highly recommend Dogtooth as well. It's great. And so I was just impressed by this director's filmography so far. His track record is great. So I was on the lookout for whatever he was coming out with next. Heard about The Killing of a Scared Deer, saw the trailer for it. I was immediately intrigued. I just saw the film. Now here's my review of it.
They're gonna see us from outer space.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about Bod.
It's nothing serious.
No, it is.
Like we're the stars of the human race. Human race.
They will all get sick and die. Bob will die, Kim will die, your wife will die. Understand?
No, I don't.
Where
is she? What did you do to her?
We're gonna let it burn, burn, burn.
I don't understand why I should have to pay the price. Why my children should have to pay the price.
It's the only thing I can think of as close to justice.
We can light it up, so they can put it out, out, out.
Colin Farrell befriends a boy who he met at the hospital he works at. During the course of their friendship, the boy ends up getting too close to Colin Farrell and his family, which causes all of the important things that are in Colin Farrell's life to fall apart. Dare I say that the directing in this movie reminded me of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. There are lots of wide-angle shots in this movie, and there are shots of the characters from a distance that sets the tone for, I guess, how the director wanted the audience to feel during these certain scenes. It set a particular atmosphere for this film, which did feel kind of eerie, but it was also strange at the same time. Not only did the strange directing cater to this film, but the story itself is weird on its own. The initial part of this movie is very slow. It takes a long time to get things started. It's a slow build. Once we move past the initial part, we get, who these characters are, what their relationships are with each other, how everyone plays into each other's lives. And I didn't find it all that interesting once everything came to the forefront. I was just kind of like, this is boring. And I admit, I did fall asleep. This movie is a definite head scratcher because nothing is explained. It's like they set up an intriguing story with intriguing directing to go along with it, so it immediately captures your attention, especially with like this one opening scene that made me hold my chest. With that, along with the intriguing characters and the intriguing story and the intriguing directing, I was anticipating something extremely compelling. What I ended up getting was something that was very obscure. It didn't make any sense, and maybe the movie goes over my head. I don't know, but I will kind of mention one film that came out in 2017 called Mother. One of my favorite films of 2017. That film is kind of like this film. It's way out there, but Mother was more obvious with what it was doing. Whereas with this, Killing of a Scared Deer, what it's doing to me is not obvious at all. It just seems like the director here is kind of just jerking himself off. Because if you've seen his other two movies that I mentioned, It's like he always does this. He always puts the same thing in his movies, and he seems like he's just trying to push what he can do even further, which is great. But at the same time, if it's like, I don't understand what you're doing, and you just continue to do the same thing, but try to make it more extreme each time, it's just like you're jerking yourself off, and I'm not part of the party. And it's like, I can't, jerk off with you or something. I know that sounds weird and strange, but hey, this guy's weird and strange, so I guess it's right up his wheelhouse. Colin Farrell stars in this movie, and I liked him in The Lobster. He was great in that, but in this, he just comes off as like really wooden and stale. He just seems like he's acting. Like there's one scene in this movie where he's talking to his kids, and even when he pronounces his words and says a line, it's like it seems like he's reading from someone who's holding up a sign standing behind the camera. And it's just really strange to me. Like, if this was the direction he was given from the director, I don't get it. Because even during the scenes when he's like emotional and throwing stuff, he just comes off as really stale and wooden. Like, his facial expressions don't change when he's angry, when he's sad, when he's happy. I mean, there's one scene where he cries, and I kind of felt for him, but that is pretty much it. Every other scene in here, he's just, I don't know. There are people who act a certain way in life, and that's just the way to behave. Now, maybe he's just so proper and mature that that's just the way he behaves. And there are probably people in the real world who behave like that. But even when he was saying his lines, it just felt really fake, and I didn't like it. I will go back to what Jennifer Lawrence did in Mother. Jennifer Lawrence kind of acted the same way, but at least in Mother, her facial expressions changed when she was scared, when she was angry, when she was upset, when she was sad. So what's the deal, Colin Farrell? Like, I don't know. The main boy in this movie, he was one of the best actors. He did a really good job. He came off as extremely strange. His mannerisms were really good. I believed him as this character. He could act like that in real life, and I'd believe it. I don't know. The boy in here was fantastic. I loved his character. I loved his role. He did a great job. The two kids here, they were good. They were effective. They worked. They're nothing special, but they worked. Nicole Kidman outacts everybody in this movie, including the boy. It seemed like Nicole Kidman was the only one who was trying to, be like believable, like a real person. Maybe it's just, I'm assuming it probably is what the director wanted. He gave each actor a direction, and everyone just seemed like they had a different direction they were given, because like Colin Farrell is doing one thing where he's really stale and wooden, and it seems like he's reading lines. And then like the kids, they were normal. And then you have the boy who was really strange, had great mannerisms. He behaved weirdly, and I believed it. That guy, like, he could win an Oscar in 2018, and I wouldn't be upset about that. And Nicole Kidman is the best actor in this movie. She acts like a real person. She has real emotions, and she's great. She's the greatest actor in this movie. If this was the direction all of these actors were given from the director, I don't know what he was doing, but it seems like each actor in here is going in their own separate directions. One of the main things that is intriguing about this movie is the directing. It reminded me of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, with these wide shots, these slow shots that follow characters down hallways. It certainly reminded me of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. But with that being said, it's like, okay, he tries to, I think, emulate what Stanley Kubrick did, and it works on some levels. But then there were some shots in this movie that didn't make any sense, because it's like, okay, there's like a shot of a character or two characters are talking to each other, and then like the camera kind of like pans over and focuses on one character, and then it cuts the other character off, and they're off screen, we can't see them. And then like over here you got this big open space of like a wall and some stuff, and I'm just like, okay, is there something over there I'm supposed to be looking at? Because you got the actor talking to this other character who's off screen, and they're cut off, and you got one actor who's on opposite end of the screen, and over here is like this big wide open space, and I'm like, it's kind of weird. There's lots of weird shots in this movie. Like, the directing in here is just as weird as the story. And it's intriguing. It's intriguing, but it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? That's all I have to say about this. It's like, yes, I knew sort of what I was getting into with this film. I've seen this director's previous 2 movies, and I like them both. He loves doing ambiguous movies that have ambiguous things in them. He loves doing things that are strange, things that most people in this world would consider taboo. And I like that. I like certain things like that as long as the movie is effective and it's interesting and, you know, the plot is unfolded in a way that keeps me engaged and excited. Now with this, it started to do that. Like the opening with the directing involved, it was great. You know, there's a mystery here. Then in the middle part, it's like, okay, you kind of figure where it's going, and it goes exactly where you think it's going to go. So the characters, they come together, they're all revealed, and I'm like, okay. Then it just really got stale and boring because it just like kept going and it didn't change its pace. It's like going in the same pace and slowly building everything. And I don't mind slow burners, but with this, it's just like, oh, it's really dull and it's kind of flat, and it's just like the only thing that's keeping me kind of interested is the directing and the strangeness of it all. And then like some weird stuff happens with the kids and it's never explained, and then you have the ending where it's just like really ambiguous as to what's going on here. And like I said, the movie is probably going over my head, doing something that is not obvious. I don't know if it is. Please tell me, because I don't know what's happening here. Like this, I like this director's previous 2 movies, but this he pushes what he can. He pushes it way too far here. Overall, I give The Killing of a Scared Deer a C. I give it a solid C. I really wanted to love this movie. I thought it was going to be, going into it, I thought this was going to be one of my favorite films of 2017, because last year's The Lobster was. And this, it's just like, it's way out there. It's too out there for me. I mean, not as far as like weird stuff is concerned. Like, I love weird movies and strange movies, but this, I wouldn't say it takes the cake or anything. I would just say that it's really ambiguous and it's not real obvious as to what's going on, because nothing is explained. It's just like things are built up, they're interesting, then we get like relationships between the characters, and it's like interesting, and then the directing along with everything else is interesting. So it's like, all right, cool, I want to see what happens next, but then nothing really happens. I mean, things happen that look cool and that are really strange, so they're intriguing, but then it's just like kind of flat because it's like there's nothing explained, so I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand why any of this is happening. Why do I even care? Because it just looks cool. That's it. It's got some good music. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, don't really like this movie. I wanted to give it an F, but I didn't, because it does, like I said, the directing's good and all the other stuff. I just didn't like it. Yeah, what the fuck. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
This shit. I never beat my shit, man. I never beat my shit. Nah, I lie like a